Well, now to the lady with a massively growing support base, and rightly so. Without content, as a broadcaster, you'll eventually be found out. Catherine McGregor, put simply, knows her stuff. And again, we must turn to her on China. Catherine, thank you tonight again. I'll have a word with you in a moment about this quadrilateral security dialogue summit, very important, with President Biden, Indian Prime Minister Modi, the Japanese leader Suga, and our Prime Minister Morrison. This will be about national security. And on Saturday morning, by Zoom, it's the strongest signal yet to China that Indo-Pacific democracies are prepared to work together to counter China's efforts to dominate the region. Catherine, it is interesting that the Chinese President Xi has told the Chinese military to, quote, be prepared to respond and focus on, quote, combat readiness days before the meeting with the Quad. What do you think this means?
Well, it's definitely a sign that it's got onto his radar and he's niggled by it, Alan, and I think they should take that as a compliment. You and I have been discussing the potential in this quadrilateral arrangement for some time now, not claiming credit for it, obviously. It's come from an initiative at the US end to formalise it and have this summit. But if you look back, Prime Minister Morrison, one of the smart things I thought he did was right at the depth of winter last year when we were in lockdown, he made time to have a one-on-one connection to Narendra Modi in India. Building on a relationship pioneered to his great credit by Tony Abbott, and we resumed our Malabar exercises with India last November as well. So I've always thought that these are four democracies with natural affinities for one another, and Australia's avowed strategic policy has been couched in terms of the Indo-Pacific since the last white paper, which was a change in terminology. So we're sort of putting some flesh on the bones.
I know that, but I mean, Xi has reportedly told armed forces this week that China's current security situation was, quote, largely unstable and uncertain. Now, the Quad meeting has obviously angered Beijing because it's 9 months after the border conflict last June between China and India, which killed 20 Indian soldiers and 4 Chinese. I mean, has the heightened security concerns in New Delhi worried India a little? What focus do you think this will be given, that India really is the Quad's most cautious member?
Yeah, the problem with India, Alan, in this relationship is they have a different position on Myanmar. So does Japan. So there's a slight fissure in this in the quadrilateral relationship. However, I think Paul Kelly summed it up really well and said the greatest contributor to the Quad has been China's appalling behaviour. And what it has done is it's driven these 4 nations that have a commonality of institutional background, they're democracies, and India has been to war with China. People forget they fought a border war in 1962. That clash in Ladakh last year was vicious, and what that was about was an attempt to build infrastructure by India in the vicinity of the line of actual control, which has been contested ever since China annexed Tibet in 1959. They've been jostling each other ever since. And what heartens me, Alan, is this. What the Indians were doing was building a permanent resupply route into the highest Air Force base in the world, 5,000 metres above sea level. It's a dagger pointed at the throat of the Chinese. Make no mistake, this is a real statement of intent from the Indians, and it's a home game for them, operating Sukhoi 30s.
Against that, I mean, China have now increased their defence budget by 6.8%. 270 billion. I mean, it's 4 times the defence budgets of India and Japan, admittedly a quarter of America's. Ours is 42 billion. I mean, when we say we must be prepared, you've got to do more than have a meeting and dialogue and talk at the Quad. What is the level of preparedness that we should have?
Well, a lot more than we have, Alan, in short. A number of things that are worrying me. We've got a Defence Minister on some unstated indefinite leave now. That's got to be a source of concern. We had a very, very good statement last year, but our procurement program is not matching the game we're talking. We're getting into the field of hypersonic missiles. We've got a submarine program that is delivering capability far too slowly. So I think we've got a lot of the settings right intellectually, but our procurement program is too slow. And whether we like it or not, this is the point people miss about this, Alan. We are integrated into the United States warfighting system by virtue of the fact that their ground station network, for reasons of cloud-free days in outback Australia and the geospatial locations of the US ground station network, means that we will be the first target in World War III. If the Chinese attempt a cross-straits operation against Taiwan, which the US Indo-Pacific Commander believes is all but inevitable over the next 6 years, they simply cannot leave Australia's US joint facilities in play. We are in this. There is no option for neutrality. So our preparedness, in my view, is lagging. We have invested a lot of money, but we're getting the pig to market, as John Howard would say, far too slowly.
Absolutely.
We urgently need a bomber. We need to expand the range of our strike on our submarines by weaponising them differently. And if we're stuck with this French model, then we have to look at weaponising it differently. We shouldn't be stuck with the French model. Call that contract off and buy some stuff off the shelf. We'll resume this next week. Your insights are magnificent. Thank you, Catherine, very much for your time. Thank you, Alan.
Catherine McGregor, outstanding.